how do you reverse the consequences that we are seeing?
Well, reversing the consequences is going back to the drawing board. From the address he gave to the nation a couple of days ago, it's as if he was saying the issue of subsidy is gone and they're not going to revisit it. I think that was very, very serious error. If I were him, we admit, accept that there were problems, accept that there were some errors, that you are going to look at it, and immediately after that, people will see you putting in place, looking into that matter. Let it be public. For example, immediately the crisis started and he discovered that the issue of subsidy is the #1 thing people are complaining about, high cost of fuel and petrol. Set up a technical committee. Let there be some open public hearing. Technical people sitting down to see what exactly is going on. Up to this moment, Shehu, there are arguments that subsidy is still being paid in some whatever name you call it. So if you are still paying subsidy in different name, in different ways, why are you now telling the nation that subsidy, there is no going back? We look at it. Every person in Nigeria, especially at the elite level, believe that, yes, subsidy was found to be a source of wastages. That does not mean it should not be revisited and looked into. If I were him, I would set up a technical committee. I hope that is being done, but the public are not being carried along with it.
But it doesn't look like President Tinubu is going to back down. He's doubled down, rather, on that. It's very vehement. It's that we cannot be funding our neighboring countries. We cannot be feeding some scavengers who are sucking the economy dry. Rather, we're going to put those money into developmental projects.
It's like throwing the baby, the water along with the baby. If there are problems in a particular system, if there is a problem on a particular policy, that does not mean scrapping it totally is the solution. You go into it, find ways of adjustment to carry people along. I think this was being done by previous leaders in Nigeria. It was being gradually being attended to. And any time a government takes a decision and it discovered that it has given rise to serious problems, there's nothing wrong in backing.
So it was a political suicide, ab initio.
Well, I think that is, I've said it before, the very day he said subsidy is gone, most Nigerians didn't even remember that it was Buhari that started it, that removed subsidy from the budget. But the day he was being sworn, he said subsidy is gone. So 90%.
Can you blame Bola Tinubu for what is going on? That those who will say, look, Buhari has left him a dead economy. Buhari left him a dead baby to resuscitate. And that he's doing his best to resuscitate it. And this is a government that just spent a year and about 2 months. Can you blame such a person? Does he need some time to be able to fix things, you think?
There's hardly any new government that does not inherit problems. There is no government living that will not leave behind issues. This blame game should not be there. Buhari spent almost 2/3 of his time blaming PDP government. And if Tinubu will come and start blaming Buhari, it's not the issue. There are always going to be problems on ground. What is important, what are you doing to address the problem?
You contested for president before.
Yeah, yes, I did.
If you were in that seat today, Senator Shekarau, what would you do differently?
I have told you, one, it's not just to say that I recognize there is hunger. We identify these issues mentioned. Don't forget, the protesters gave government almost 4 weeks' notice. If I give you notice that I was coming to fight you, and you went to sleep, and then that's your problem. So I think there was enough time for the government. I don't know, I haven't the details. Probably they were doing a lot of backyard measures, but the public were not carried along. The leaders of identified civil societies and organizations were not carried along. We waited until there's fire on the mountain, then we came running. Within the period of the notice of the, probably they naively did not expect it to be at that level, but I expect that if I were there, immediately the threat came, or rather the pronouncement that was going to be protest.
Yeah, we have a president.
Yes.
He's the man in the saddle. Yeah. He's leading our lives, either we like it or not.
Absolutely.
Our destinies are in his hands right now.
Right.
To help him. because he needs a lot of help as it is right now.
Well,
and we should pray to God that he does well and he performs.
In fact, that is my prayer. And as we say in the teaching job, the best learning is when you learn through your mistakes. Let the government sit back, identify what areas have you made some errors, what mistakes have you made, what pronouncements were made in error, what policies were put in place that are really breeding this kind of crisis of hunger, high cost of living, inflation to about 40–45%.
How do you, if you were in the shoe, how do you press the panic or the reset button? How do you, what would you do immediately?
Well, immediately, as I said, the issue is appreciate item by item that these problems are real, they are there. And then you identify relevant sectors, relevant people that will come in and carry the people along.
You don't think he has a team that can get the job done right now?
Well, I don't know who is who in his appointment. I cannot assess whether the right people. The question is the people are not being properly carried along. I think they are working up to that now. I've seen a lot of publicity, a lot of communication. I was watching the Minister of Information visiting the media houses and exchanging some discussions, some information. People need to be carried along as to what you're doing. But
do you believe in the capacity of President Tinubu to get the job done?
I think if he knew he wouldn't be able to do it, I don't think he would have put up himself to do it. I pray for him, and I pray this is going to be a learning process. That, as I said, you learn through your mistakes. Admit there are some wrongs that have been committed, some errors, probably certain things have been taken for granted, and this is the time to sit down back and address them. We are still hopeful, and I pray that the government succeeds. Regardless, my own opposition is not a blind opposition. Once you are in office, we pray for you. Because if he fails, it is the same student that will be suffering.